Hey, comic book fans! Welcome back to Comic Book Corner, and you're with me, Mike Spider Slayer. What's up, guys? Today we're getting ready to do another comic book review, and today we are talking about none other than my favorite modern day title, BAM! The Walking Dead issue number 106. That's right. In our last issue, we got to see Carl go with Negan. That's right. That's what we saw. We get to see Carl be Negan's guest. Negan showed him around. He took off his little eye patch and you got to see the big hole in his eye. And you get to see all these things. And you're kind of just waiting and seeing, is something going to happen to Carl? Is Negan going to destroy Carl? Is he going to kill him? Is he going to hurt him? What's he going to do? Well, he didn't do anything. So in this issue, it continues. But first off, before I get into the issue, I'm going to talk about this cover. Issue number 106 is the 100th issue of Charlie Adlard's drawings. So there's the regular cover out there, and then there's this cover, which I showed in my comic book haul. And if you can look closer, you see the outline of a zombie. Then there's Rick, obviously, and then if you look in the book, within the drawing itself, it has Charlie Adlard's, all his drawings on there. So really cool stuff. Just, I love it. I love it, and I love everything about this book. Obviously, our writer is Robert Kirkman, and Cliff Rathburn does the gray tones on the book as well. So yeah, now going into the book. Carl is missing, that's right, and you're just waiting to see what the hell is going to be Rick's reaction when he finds out that Carl is missing. Well, in this particular issue, we see a little bit of everything, and you haven't seen that in The Walking Dead in a while. It's been straightforward through just the one continuous story each time, all the way through. It's been a few issues where it just dealt with one focus. This issue, it actually jumps around a little bit, and but when you start off from the last issue, it continues right where it left off. It continues where that dude, this guy here, got branded by Negan, and we can see here that Dwight, you find out that Dwight, it happened to the same thing that happened to him. And this whole thing was this guy Mark cheated on one of Negan's wives, and he got punished for it, and he got sent away. So you got to see him get carried away. And then it goes back to Carl. Okay, Carl's just sitting here talking with Negan, and you're like, uh-oh, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen to Carl? And you know, Carl wants to wrap up his face. He's like, can I wrap up my face? And Negan's just like, absolutely fuck not. You can't do that. And there comes Carl. He's like, why the fuck not? You know? And he's like, whoa. He's like, hold on there. He's like, hold on there, bad mother. Boop, you know? And he's like, because he's like, I'm not done with you. And he's like, you think I'm going to let you ride out of here? And he's having this in-depth, real serious conversation with him. Because you think at this point, Carl thinks he's kind of just, you know, in the clear at this point. So they have this, they're talking, and he's just like, Negan's like, what do you think I should do with you? You know, he's like, I'll let you come up with the punishment. And Carl's just like, I think you should jump up out the window, he goes, and save me the trouble of killing you. And Negan sits there and laughs. He's all crazy, you know? He's like, there's the boy that impressed me to begin with. And they kind of stare each other down. And he's just like, I don't know what punishment would be good for you, because what you have endured is enough punishment enough. But he goes, I'll think of something. And you're like, oh shit. And then right away, the book goes into this big splash page. Hey, look who you haven't seen in a while. Good old Jesus doing some zombie stomping. That's fun, right? There's stomps on the zombie's face. Look at that. It's like, there's all kinds of crazy stuff there. He finds a car and he starts driving away. It's like, finally, you know. Then next you go into Rick, and Michonne, and you got Andrea and everybody who you haven't seen in a while either, and zombies. You haven't seen zombies in a long time. Just going out on a zombie brawl, and you're like, holy crap, what are they doing, you know? But in the issue, it's described that they found out that Carl is missing, and they've been searching for Carl every single night. And they go out and they keep looking for him, and they just do some zombie control, basically, just tearing up zombies. Rick is doing whatever he can to just, you know, find Carl. And, you know, you have this weird conversation with this chick Erin, who you've never seen before, and I think it's Nicholas who dated Andrea for that little bit, and they have this brief conversation, and he's like kind of jealous of Rick. So that really, I don't know what that really meant. I don't know if it's planting seeds in the future. And then you have a conversation with Eric and what's the other guy's name here? I don't know. I can't remember this. Eric and the two husbands here that found Rick to begin with, and they have this conversation about abandoning the community, and I think it's Erin, and Erin's sitting there talking to him about saying, you know, you can't abandon this place. This is what Rick wants. He's like, this is what we're recreating as a civilization. Maybe if we trade with Negan, we trade to the hilltop, it's called civilization. And they got into this heated argument in the beginning, but in the end they make up and they hug and they kiss and stuff like that. So Rick and the group and Michonne and Andrea and Heath and everybody, they come back to the community and they try to get a good night's rest before they have to go out and search for Carl again. Next thing you see good old Jesus. He's sitting there at Rick's bed, and he's just like, whoa, what the hell? He's like, what the heck's going on, you know? And Rick brings him to the wall, and he just hits there and gets the wall, and he's like, how'd you get in here? He's like, honestly, Heath let me in, and, you know, I knocked on the door and walked in. So what do you want from me, dude? You know? And Jesus just spills the beans and basically just sits there, finds out he knows where Negan lives, what the building is like. Rick and the group are coming up with this plan how to get Carl, because they feel that, you know, obviously he has Carl. And Rick comes up with this master plan, just sitting there, wait, we'll just knock on the door, you know, maybe he'll give it to us. Well, while they're coming up with this plan, Andrew is just like, oh fuck, what's going to happen here? And the next thing you see is the infamous truck and the men. And Negan comes walking out the door, and he's sitting there, right there, and he's just like, hey, just the man I wanted to see. That's right. You know, and you're like, oh, great. He's like, I wanted to see you. And he's just like, Rick was like, I'm coming to get Carl. Where's Carl? You know, he's all serious. And he's like, hey, the funny fucking thing is I came to see you too. And he's just like, oh, yeah. He's just like, I can't fucking wait until you see what I've done with your boy. And I think he's just playing mind games with him. I don't think he did anything to Carl. I think he's just playing mind games. I think he's just holding him hostage or just playing with Rick's mind, because that's the type of character that Negan is. He's going to kind of mess with you at the same time and get you thinking before he does anything harsh. That's my prediction. I don't think he killed him or disfigured him or anything like that. So, but it just kept you guessing, just trying to sit there and say, oh, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? And, of course, great old Robert Kirkman leaves you hanging right at that perfect time, right when you're going to be like, oh, yes, yes. And it's like, no, no. Oh, I got to wait another month. And you're like, shit, you know. So, but overall, this is a great story. It touched on a little bit of everything. We had zombies. We got to see Jesus. You get to see Negan. You get to see Carl. You get to see Rick and Michonne. You get to see the zombies back. You get to see a little bit of everything, and you just witness everything that Cliff, oh my God, that, sorry, you get to witness everything that Charlie Adlard does in the book, which is phenomenal artwork that he's been so consistent on in this series at this point. So guys, I'm going to give this book, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5, just because I was disappointed. I wanted to see what happened to Carl, and it was a little jumpy at points, and like, I have no idea who that Erin chick is. Like, I'd never seen her before, and she's talking to that other guy at the gate. So I don't know what that's about. But nevertheless, it was still a great story, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in issue 107 and what they're going to do with Carl. So guys, hope you like this issue. Tell me what your thoughts are. Tell me what you think is going to happen to Carl. And that's it, guys. So until the next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off, and I'll see you real soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.